In Genesis 6-9 is contained the famous Noah's flood story, and for many in the 21st century, that's all it is, a story. An impossible story of myth and magic, or so they've been led to believe by Hollywood and other mainstream outlets. In reality though, there's a great deal of evidential support for the Genesis cataclysm. And even though there are legitimate questions surrounding this event, these questions do have answers. For example, some think it impossible that Noah was even capable of building a seaworthy vessel. But this judgment is based on several common misunderstandings and misconceptions. The first misconception is that Noah didn't have the brains to construct such an ark. But this comes from an evolutionary worldview in which humans supposedly evolved up from the animals. In this scenario, ancient man was far less intelligent than we are today. Man's evolutionary story begins with cavemen and bone tools, painstakingly developing crude technology over countless centuries. That's why Noah is often imagined as a primitive nomad chipping away with stone, bone, and wood implements. As engineer and author Tim Lovett says, this version of Noah probably couldn't have made anything more advanced than a tent pole and a clay bowl. But this version of Noah, like goo-to-you evolution, is completely fictional. In reality, people in Noah's day and shortly thereafter were much more intelligent than skeptics credit. The ancient pyramids, ships, and other ingenious artifacts testify to that fact. Actually, the ability of ancient builders is such a mystery to evolutionists that some think they had help from extraterrestrials, an idea for which there is zero evidence. People in Noah's time were also not limited to stone and bone tools. As the Bible clearly explains, Tubal-Cain, who lived centuries before Noah, forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. So before the flood, there was no bronze or iron ages. One person conquered both metals, and Noah had them at his disposal. But here's the thing. Even if Noah had somehow been incompetent, he was probably not required to come up with the design of the ark as we sometimes assume. Genesis 6:14-16 tells us that it was God who gave him the plans. And since God gave painfully detailed designs to Moses about the construction of the tabernacle, and to David about the temple, and to Ezekiel about the future temple, it's very reasonable to conclude that God also gave Noah equally detailed plans on how to construct the ark, especially since the future of the human race depended on it. The third possible misconception about Noah is that he had to accomplish this massive construction project by himself. But he wasn't alone. Besides having his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, as well as his father Lamech and grandfather Methuselah before they died, there would have been plenty of contractors available for hire, just like there are today. And like today, they no doubt would have mocked Noah, but like people today, their motivation was money, not righteousness. They did the job and they got paid, and that was good enough for them. Another thing to consider in this whole discussion is the fact that Noah had a great deal of time to complete this endeavor. How much time exactly did he have? Well, at first glance, Genesis 6:3 seems to set the clock at 120 years. The specific command to build the ark actually came years later, after the birth of Noah's three sons. As a matter of fact, by the time God gave Noah the command in Genesis 6:13-18, his sons were already married. So doing a little bit of math, we find that Noah would have had roughly between 55 to 75 years to build the ark, which is still more than enough time. A fifth issue people have with Noah is his age, which seems impossible. According to the Bible, Noah was more than 500 years old when he was building the ark. Of course, by biblical standards, he was only middle-aged, as he would go on to live to be 950. While this is biologically impossible today, it wasn't in Noah's time. In fact, says Drs. Georgia Purdom and David Minton, considering that God initially created us to live forever, a lifespan of nearly 1,000 years is sadly abbreviated. Indeed, though God created humans as immortal beings, Adam and Eve's sin brought sickness, disease, and death upon humanity and the entire creation. From that moment on, the cells in the human body would now begin to mutate, degrade, and die. In modern scientific vernacular, this is referred to as genetic entropy. And while there are many factors which affect lifespan, modern scientific research suggests that genetic mutations are one of the key factors, if not the main factor. As my friend Matt Bondi rightly says, as mutations accumulate, biological systems deteriorate. The population becomes less fit, less robust, less able to cope with diseases which affect lifespans. Sadly, after thousands of years of genetic degradation, the human lifespan is now only a tenth of what it was prior to the flood. And if you're still in doubt about these super long ages recorded in the Bible, consider the fact that similar claims of long lifespans are found in the secular literature of several ancient cultures, including the Babylonians, Greeks, Romans, Indians, and Chinese. Remember, just because we don't live for several hundred years today doesn't mean that humans didn't live this long in the distant past. So, in conclusion, there are no good reasons to doubt that Noah had the capacity, the capability, the resources, tools, and the wisdom to build such a seaworthy vessel.